committee meeting and committee of the whole. Today is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. It's 3:31 in the afternoon. The meeting is hereby called to order. Approval of our meeting minutes from July 21st. Do we have a motion, or are there any corrections or modifications?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve our minutes from the July the 21st.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the meeting minutes are approved. We're going to take our items a little bit out of order today. So instead of hearing number 3, the annexation item first, we are going to hear item 4.2 first, which is ZAC 2021-00013. This is an application for a change in zone district boundaries from D3 Single Family District to I1 Light Manufacturing District. Who is going to handle our case for us today?
I can present.
Oh, there you are.
How are you doing? Yeah, so this is ZAC 2021, is it -13? I think it's the case.
That's what it says on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Hooper City. And so the proposed use is construction and development of an office and truck plaza facility. The subject property sits on approximately 9 acres of land on the south side of Daniel Payne Drive North. Daniel Payne Drive. North of the properties is vacant land zoned I-4, which is for landfill, mining, and timbering district. And property recently zoned from C2 General Commercial District to I1 Light Manufacturing District per ordinance 2050G. To the west of the site is the Transport America Birmingham Support Center zoned I1. To south and east of the properties is zoned D3 Single Family District. The applicant is proposing to construct a new office and truck plaza facility. The facility will involve storage of trucks and trailers similar to the adjacent Transport America Birmingham Support Center. The city's long-range land use plan identifies the property as general commercial with the exception of 140th Court North, which the plan identifies as residential low. Proposed rezoning request is somewhat consistent with the long-range land use plan. The applicant's site plan shows a 10,000 square foot office building. Parking requirement for office is 1 per 400 square feet. The required parking would be 25 spaces. Applicant site plan shows 26 parking spaces, therefore the applicant exceeds by 1 space, and they'll have to deal with the green infrastructure requirement with the stormwater administrator for that overage. The applicant will need to go through subdivision process to combine the 5 properties into 1 lot. The development must meet all landscape requirements outlined by the zoning ordinance, including perimeter landscaping as well as interior, and I believe there's probably a buffering requirement there as well. The Birmingham Department of Transportation states that the driveway sidewalk permits will be required any new construction or redevelopment must comply with BDOT requirements. City stormwater staff reviewed the site plan and commented that land disturbance permits will be required, including soil erosion control, stormwater driveway. All projects within the area will be required to meet standards in the post-construction stormwater ordinance for water quality and water volume control. The Hooper City Neighborhood Association held a regular scheduled meeting on July 8, 2021. The applicant requested this case be continued to the next meeting to allow site plan revisions in compliance with the framework plan. Then the neighborhood met again on 8/12/2021 and voted to support the proposed rezoning request, and the vote was 20-0 in favor. The Business Redevelopment Subcommittee of the North Birmingham Framework Plan Implementation Committee was contacted regarding the zoning request. They met with the applicant on Monday, June 28th, and requested changes to the site plan. In a follow-up meeting, the committee met with the applicant on Monday, August 9th, and requested time to consider 2 conditions. The committee met amongst themselves and stated the following in an email to staff on August 23rd. The Business Redevelopment Committee met to review the city zoning ordinance in relation to Mr. Parker's application. We are requesting a buffering and landscaping plan per the Chapter 6 of the zoning ordinance. There should be enough buffering following the provisions listed in Chapter 6. to block the view of the business from the residents who are directly adjacent to the property. The landscape plan should include a plan for the lighting that will not interfere with the circulation rhythm of the residents. Lighting should follow the guidelines within Chapter 1 of the zoning ordinance. We are also requesting that the business maintain buffer and landscape as directed in Chapter 6 of the ordinance. The committee has not been presented with either of these plans, nor did we see any of these plans at the presentation given at Hooper City neighborhood meeting. Our concern is that the citizens are not negatively impacted by the business being placed on this location. The applicants, this is a staff recommendation, the applicant's rezoning request is somewhat consistent with the future land use plan and has merit for approval due to the existing adjacent land uses and current trends in the area, as 2 of the adjacent properties are zoned industrial, and another adjacent property at 225 Daniel Payne Drive was recently rezoned from C2 to I1 per his ordinance 2050G. Staff recommends the following Q conditions. The first one, well, I don't know that I need to read all the Q conditions. You can see the Q conditions there, but it looks like approval of a site plan and queuing out several uses. And then the ZAC met at its regular scheduled meeting on Tuesday, September 7, 2021, reviewed the applicant's rezoning request and voted to recommend approval with the Q conditions recommended by staff. And that would conclude the report for this case.
Thank you. Just to confirm, back on the pages, page 6, down at the bottom, next to the bottom paragraph, you said that there was an exception of address 140th Court. You said north, and this says west. Which one is correct? Is it north or west?
Let me see. Is it west?
West. Okay, so the agenda's correct. So.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay, well, that's perfectly all right. I just wanted to confirm which it was.
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
the other question is on this extra parking space that they have that
Right.
they will have to address. If they just didn't have that parking space, they would be able to just rock along.
That's
just fine.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here for case CAC 2021-00013? Sorry, Mr. Parker, I didn't recognize you.
I am masked in order to keep my identity hidden.
Who is that masked man?
May I
Now,
take it
remember we have a subpar microphone there, so you really have to aim it right at your voice.
At the ZAC hearing, I asked if I could take it off being in the box, and they said yes, so I assume that's okay.
Yeah,
That
it
would
is,
make easier.
but still you need to move the microphone because it really is pitiful.
How about this?
Oh, that's much better.
Much better. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hilliard's not hard of hearing, but I am.
I'm getting harder each day. Identify myself as Alton Parker. I live at 918 Essex Road in the city of Birmingham. And I'm here today to represent ProDrive LLC on the rezoning request that Tim has just read. Just a couple of comments. First, I appreciate both of you coming today. I know it's been hard to get everybody with COVID, and especially Councilor Hilliard. I know you're running for re-election. I appreciate you taking the time out to come to this meeting, so I appreciate it. All right, the things you have the maps. This is going to from general commercial to I-1. Light industrial, it's up on Daniel Payne Drive. Everywhere to the north, to the northwest, and to the west and the southwest is zoned I-1. It's used generally for truck-related and distribution services. The council just approved a major industrial 1 rezoning across the street north of Daniel Payne Drive. We have met with the neighborhood and the North Birmingham Implementation Committee. Reverend Douglas is here from the Hooper City neighborhood, and I appreciate you coming. we received a 20-0 vote of the Hooper City neighborhood, and I appreciate the Reverend's leadership on that. We talked several times with the North Birmingham Implementation Committee. They submitted comments. We reviewed the comments. They've been incorporated into the Q conditions, and so we accept the Q conditions and the comments from the NBIC as part of the rezoning application. We amended the conceptual site plan to basically provide more and better buffering to the neighborhood. And there's a water feature, which if you have your site plan out there, you can see comes down on the east side. That's the dotted line. There will be no development on the east or southeast of that dotted line, so everything will remain in a natural growth state like it is now. It's going to be a truck plaza, very similar to the one next door in the, as Tim said, the Transport America truck plaza, except that we will not be doing any large maintenance of vehicles on this site. That was all presented in the conceptual site plan. We'll have stormwater management, and comply with all of the city's requirements as the zoning ordinance says we have to do. So we're happy to do that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Did you say there was a water feature?
It's a drainage, I call it a drainage feature, yes.
Oh, drain. Okay, well, when I think of water features, I think of something pleasant.
It's not a river, it's not a lake.
Or something.
It's where water drains when it rains.
I was just looking for that water feature.
But the site itself, this part of the site has been graded off and is level and is about 20 to 30 feet above the backside, which is above the neighborhood. And from the edge of that, it's all natural now. It's going to stay that way, and I think it's going to provide really fine buffering for the neighborhood. Anyway, any other questions? Or
Okay,
Councilman?
Mr. Hilliard, do you have any?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I always like it when corporations and companies collaborate with their communities and neighborhoods. I was at the neighborhood meeting when you presented. I've talked to the neighborhood president, Mr. Anthony Douglas, and I see that it was passed in the neighborhood meeting, and they were in support. And I like the fact that you all have gone out your way with the buffers and keeping the area in compliance with where the neighborhood and the business can thrive all at the same time. So I like that, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that, and I like the way that they have presented themselves at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I do have one question. On page 8 of 9, the Business Redevelopment Committee, I think there was a comment in there that they had not seen the site development plan yet, and I just wanted to make sure that they've seen it.
They have not seen the final site development plan. We provided them the amended conceptual site plan, the initial conceptual site plan, which I discussed with them in a personal meeting at the Recreation Center, and they had some comments, and they were good comments. As a result of that meeting, we changed the site plan and had an amended conceptual site plan, which eliminated it was a warehouse type of use. We flipped the office building from one side to the other, which is now on the eastern side, and we agreed not to do any development to the south or east of the water drainage feature. One other thing we did, and Councilor Hilliard may remember this, but we have committed, our people own 6 or 7 little individual lots in the neighborhood, and when the city and the neighborhood get together and are ready to begin building single-family homes where they're properly zoned there, we're going to make some of those available to the neighborhood and to who we'll work with them to make those and turn them into reality and build some houses. They're not ready yet, but we certainly will. We will keep our property there, and we'll be ready to do that when it's time.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, and I realize you don't have the final site development plan yet, so I just wanted to make sure because I am in a 1,000% agreement when a residential area is buffered by anything noxious to a residential neighborhood, that there be some pretty hefty buffers and, you know, things to screen them from whatever activities are going on. So.
You should, the councilors should have we provided the required conceptual site plan, then we loaded it onto a Google Maps, which it shows a green space around there, and all of that green space on that map is real. It's there now, and we don't propose to change it at all. So that's going to stay as a buffer, and given the fact that it's 20 or 30 feet above the neighborhood, with all that buffer, I think we'll be exceeding expectations, I hope.
Well, and any noise you make will go right over the tops of their houses and they won't hear it.
Hopefully.
Well, amazingly, I had a friend who lived next to the interstate, and because the interstate was way up here and her house was way down here, we didn't hear anything. And I thought that was amazing because I didn't know that much about sound at the time. So if there are no other questions, Mr. Hilliard, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, would you like, Reverend, you want to talk, or you ready? Okay, I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure.
Well, and thank you for that. We do want anyone who's here to speak to this issue to be able to speak. We're not trying to cut anybody off. Everyone sounds like they're pretty happy with the way this is coming out, but
I hope so.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we move this to the full council.
With our recommendation.
With all the Q conditions and the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. I second that motion. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, and I appreciate you moving us up on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we know we're going to have to spend some time on these other ones, and yours seemed pretty safe. So now we are back into our normal order. This is item 3, an annexation item for 3520, 3526, 3505, 3500, 3540 Cahaba Valley Road, and 3456 Grants Mill Road. Mr. Gambrell?
Yes, ma'am. This case is, like I say, an annexation item, and Wayne Graves is requesting annexation of 5 properties listed that are located near the intersection of Cahaba Valley Road, Highway 119, and Grants Mill Road in unincorporated Jefferson County, and adjoining the Overton neighborhood in the city of Birmingham. It is the intent of Wayne Graves to resurvey the newly annexed parcels within property that he currently owns that is located in the city of Birmingham, with the goal of developing a 200-unit apartment development and 30,000 square feet of retail to include potential grocer. In addition, the applicant will seek to rezone all of his holdings from AG, C1, and 8ZD to D5 multifamily housing and C1 neighborhood commercial for the proposed retail development along Highway 119 and multi-family development in the rear with access from Grants Mill Road. The applicant will apply for pre-zoning of the identified properties prior to initiating the annexation. All parcels identified in the annexation application will follow the provisions of Section 114221 of the Code of Alabama. Let's see. The adjoining properties in Birmingham were included in the Northeast Framework Plan in 2017. The future land use was designated as open space for all parcels owned by Birmingham Waterworks Board, neighborhood commercial for a property at 3460 Eastern Valley Road, and residential low for the remaining parcels. Input from the surrounding residents during the development of the framework plan wanted to preserve the rural character of the area and were fearful of any improvements to Grants Mill Road. They would encourage more development. The site's proximity to Lake Purdy would be in conflict with the future land use plan established by the Northeast Area Framework Plan. The site's proximity to Lake Purdy poses concerns about stormwater runoff into the city's primary water source. The applicant would need to provide strict compliance to any development regulations established by the Birmingham Water Works Board and the recently adopted stormwater ordinance of the city of Birmingham. In addition, regional environmental advocates such as the Cahaba River Keeper Society believe that the proposed development would cause harm to the water supply system at Lake Purdy. The proposed site is located on the northeast corner of Cahaba Valley Road, that's Highway 119, and Grants Mill Road. Both of these thoroughfares are two-lane roads. They would require the installation of turn lanes at the intersection, as well as an access road off of Grants Mill Road to provide access to the proposed multifamily development. In earlier development proposals for the site, the applicant had sought to realign Grants Mill Road to form a four-way intersection with Saddle Creek Parkway, but was withdrawn due to an inability to acquire the necessary parcel. At present, there are no proposed projects along Highway 119 within proximity to the site to increase lanes or add signalization at its intersection with Grants Mill Road. The property is bounded on three sides by the city of Birmingham. The parcels located to the west and north of the proposed annexation are owned by the Birmingham Waterworks Board, which are currently undeveloped wooded sites. The annexation area bounded by Cahaba Valley Road to the south is comprised of farmhouses in the Saddle Creek subdivision. Local residents oppose the proposed development because its size would increase traffic along 119. Its proximity to Lake Purdy would pose a hazard to the water supply, and the Northeast Framework Plan had designated the future land use as open space and agriculture, which would limit any potential redevelopment to farms, forest, and estate lots in the area. The City Property Committee has had an opportunity to review this potential application and wanted to be certain that city services could be extended to the site. However, Finance Department has the opinion that the city should not be annexing projects that are strictly residential due to the cost of extending services and not receiving enough revenue to support the activity. The Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits has examined the proposed annexation case, and the opinion of staff is that the proposed rezoning for these properties would be in conflict with the existing comprehensive plan and the adopted future land use plan from the Northeast Birmingham Framework Plan. The applicant would be responsible for completing any required applications for potential rezoning of these parcels prior to their official annexation to the city of Birmingham as permitted by statute in the state of Alabama for pre-zoning parcels. In addition, the Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits would require any future development of these parcels would be in compliance with the development regulations established by Birmingham Waterworks Board. As it relates to density, soil erosion, stormwater controls, and landscaping. The Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits, as part of its investigation for the annexation request, solicited information from other departments within City Hall in order to assess the potential impact. BDOT, the Birmingham Department of Transportation, to our knowledge, there are currently no transportation projects planned for the road adjacent to the proposed development. Any street improvements recommended by a traffic impact study would have to be implemented by the developer. Costs for repaving any dedicated city streets within 15 years of initial construction would come to $2 a square foot of street area in today's dollars. The fire department, Birmingham Fire Department inspector previously spoken with developers about proposals along 119. She's familiar with the proposed for Grants Mill Road and 119. The reoccurring issue with these proposed developments is that the number of proposed units trigger the code requirements of alternate fire department access. Subdivisions are required to stand in their own right, meaning that they are not able to borrow property or get easements from another adjacent property owner to meet code requirements. These designs are usually landlocked, and developers do not favor the idea of abandoning lots or portions of lots in order to provide for the secondary alternative emergency access code requirement. This is a major public safety issue for the prospective fire department access because Highway 119 is already an extremely busy thoroughfare, and one roadway incident and accident can impede traffic flow and delay emergency access for hours, halting traffic for miles. Our emergency response assessment of the properties on 119 Grants Mill also demonstrate that there would be an extended response time for the closest Birmingham fire station, which is Fire Station 32, that's located along Highway 280 at Cahaba River. The Fire Station 32's current longest response is to Lake Purdy. The proposed properties are approximately 4 miles past Lake Purdy. With Highway 280 traffic, our fire response for our first arriving apparatus will be approximately 10 to 12 minutes. For reference, ISO requirements for the first arriving fire engine is 4 minutes on 90% of responses. There are mutual automatic aid agreements with Cahaba Valley Fire District and Rocky Ridge Fire District and Hoover Fire Department in place that could assist in our response. The Birmingham Police Department, after driving the area and referencing maps, the Overton neighborhood of Birmingham is already spread out around the proposed annex site. The Birmingham Police Department will be able to respond for calls for service for a proposed annexed area. It should also be stated that they are, as stated that as more development comes to the area, BPD would recommend hiring additional officers to patrol the area. The Economic Development Department is not in support of the project based on PEP description and review of the project. The following matters are major concerns of the project as follows: conflicting with existing plan, potential zoning issues, transportation impact, watershed, stormwater runoff. Their project appears primarily residential with minimal commercial development, those providing limited economic impact. The Birmingham Property Committee was informed of this item at its January 14, 2021 meeting regarding let's see. Okay, I think there's a mistake there. But regarding this request, the person at the meeting, which was Kirk Epstein, who is our real estate agent for the city, chaired the property committee in the director's absence. And regarding this request at Grants Mill and 119 intersection, there were concerns with the development as requested due to its proximity to Lake Purdy. Attached are communications I received subject to development from Cahaba Valley Homeowners Association, Riverkeeper, Cahaba River Society, which were all commenting on the same issues and concerns about the proximity to Lake Purdy and the worry about stormwater runoff affecting the water source. The last communication that Kirk had regarding these matters was that PEP was going to request the applicant seek annexation before any action from zoning. The Department of Public Works does not see an impact of this annexation in its operations. Garbage pickup would be commercial. The right-of-way in the area is also scattered with a mix of city in the area already, so right-of-way functions should be minimal. Let's see. And that concludes the comments on the annexation case.
Thank you. Is the applicant here or the applicant's representative?
Good afternoon, Randall Miner, 1901 6th Avenue North, here on behalf of the applicants.
Remember our terrible microphone. You have to really get close to it. I wish that, we were capable of getting a better microphone, but apparently we're not.
Randall Miner, 1901 6th Avenue North, here on behalf of the applicant. And I'm not sure if we're just discussing the annexation part of this now, or just we also discuss the zoning.
Yeah, right now we're just discussing annexation, whether we should or should not.
So and I think you guys have a site plan in front of you, but I can hand some materials.
We do. Yeah. This one right here?
Correct. Yeah, and that's the city's map. But what you can see from there is that there's actually a portion of this site that's already in the city of Birmingham. So what we were trying to do is develop the portion that's in the city of Birmingham in conjunction with the rest of the site, and then have all of it be 100% in the city of Birmingham. What we're hoping to do, I know we're talking about annexation, but along Highway 119, it's zoned commercial now, a portion of that is. So what we wanted to do was, have a more complete commercial zoning and then bring that in the city of Birmingham. I saw the note that that's maybe not a lot of revenue, but that kind of depends on what the use is, the retail use. We were looking at a couple of different options. We haven't Obviously, we haven't gotten the zoning, so we don't have any secured leases yet, but the goal is for something to be supportive retail for the neighboring community. This area is got an interesting zoning. There's part of it City of Birmingham, part of it Jefferson County. Not too far from here is Hoover, and also not too far from here is Leeds. So there's a lot of different jurisdictions that are competing for different things in this area. Again, this is more the zoning, but it's related to the annexation. My client has owned this property for some years. He's been kind of slowly assembling the land over time. He's been meeting with representatives of the City of Leeds, City of Birmingham, Jefferson County during that whole time and looking for different funding sources to alleviate some of the traffic issues that are there. Some of those were referenced in Mr. Gambrell's report. Unfortunately, just like a lot of things, there's not a lot of public dollars available for infrastructure improvements. So there was a note in the staff report that there's no the cost to repave the development, in 15 years would be $2 a square foot, and presumably the same cost would apply to Grants Mill Road and Highway 119. What we're proposing to do with this development is hopefully improve the traffic condition. Obviously, we're adding residents if the annexation goes through and the rezoning goes through, but all of the proposed traffic and infrastructure upgrades will be funded by the development. And that's part of the reason why we're seeking the type of development we're seeking. I think some may prefer no development in the area, or certainly not apartments, or maybe a reduced number of apartments. It's not really been clear where the opposition is coming from exactly. But the idea generally is there's an existing traffic condition that is a substandard grade based on the traffic reports that we've done. We've done traffic reports both pre-COVID and during COVID, and those have been submitted to the City of Birmingham. And the reports that we've done indicate that with the proposed additions that we're making, that we have an acceptable level of service during most times. It's a funky intersection, and I'm sure you've been there. I know you've been there. It's not optimal, but one of the things that we considered early on, and again, just couldn't find an audience to help with some of the costs associated with it. But if you were to connect Grants Mill Road into Saddle Creek and kind of join those two, that we looked at a couple of scenarios to that effect, but there just wasn't any kind of funding source that we could identify. So we pursued the option that's now before you guys. So, the rest of the stuff I'd have to say is probably more zoning related than annexation. So I just say that the annexation is being requested in conjunction with the rest of the development. There are some portions of this development that could be done without any annexation. And again, the retail portion of this could be done, most of it could be done without a rezoning action.
Okay, and regarding the traffic study, I have not gotten through your traffic study. So basically, you're saying that the traffic is terrible and there are no plans to do anything about it, but you're going to make some small changes that'll make it not so bad.
I wouldn't put it in those words, but
Well, I'm summarizing because,
Right.
I realize you're putting your client's spin on things, and I'm kind of hearing what you're saying, and your spin sounds better than what I'm hearing.
Well, it sounds like you're reading the traffic report, so I don't want to, override anything that you might read there. But I mean, there's.
Well, like I said, I haven't had time to read the whole thing yet. So.
Yeah. But there's grades there, and they look at the existing level of service and conclude I can't remember all the details, but there were a couple of peak times where it was not a passing grade in the current condition. And in the proposal, it makes it better for most of those peak times.
So adding these apartments makes it better?
There's also traffic improvements. So they're widening the road in a couple places. They've got some additional.
And these are the ones that would be funded by your client?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I should emphasize that. So one of the things in the site plan, again, this is more the zoning than the annexation, but There's a full turning lane off of Grants Mill Road if you're driving south on Grants Mill Road, making the right turn onto Highway 119. There's a full turning lane that gets added to help alleviate some of that, some of the situation that you have now where you kind of come to a stop and it's a weird right turn and, the visibility is maybe not the best. But so they're doing what they can. Again, if there were additional funding available, maybe there would be some different solutions. But, we were trying to present something that was a net add to the city of Birmingham, and not, requesting any kind of incentive or anything to, fix problems that, maybe should be regionally funded.
Thank you. Mr. Hilliard, do you have any questions or
No, I do
comments?
not. I don't have any questions or comments.
Okay, if you would just sit on the front row so that if we need to call you back to answer any questions. Are there members of the public or other interested parties who are here to speak to this issue? And if there are, we would like for you to come up and speak. Yeah, not speak from back there, but speak from up here at our podium next to our very sad microphone. And when you come up, if you'd please tell us if you're one of the people who wrote letters, because we have a lot of emails and letters, copies here.
State your name and your address, too.
All right. My name is Tricia Sheets. Am I okay on this microphone?
Yeah, that's why we have those nice plexiglass sides, and you're close to it.
Yeah, I'm short enough. 3585 Cahaba Valley Road. I am an adjacent property owner to this property that's being proposed today. You did not receive written comments from me earlier. I wish I had had time, but I had squeezed this into a already overscheduled day. So I'm here to simply make comments. A lot of mine has to do, I guess, with the rezoning, but I can speak to a few of the items that were just raised in the annexation.
Okay, well, we are on the annexation item right now, so.
Okay. So the discussion about there's commercial property out there. The commercial property is really an abandoned building. It was an old store, like a general store, that was grandfathered in when zoning was first proposed for the area. There's also like an 1800s church in the side of the old stagecoach trail. So that's how old and far back some of this community goes to. But that commercial zoning everything is really agricultural, very rural, residential, and that is just a grandfathered piece because there was a general store there at one point in time. And it's retained that commercial zoning. But talking about the roads, especially on 119, there's a real issue with line of sight. Anyone who would be trying to merge onto Highway 119 from these apartments, and I'm directly across the street, so I know this well. There's line of sight issues where you have trouble seeing the traffic that's approaching you from part of the directions. There's also existing flooding on Highway 119, especially during high rain events, where it's possible to hydroplane because there is standing water on the road. There are no curb and gutters in this area. It only uses grass drainage swells, I guess you would call it, that aren't always able to handle all of the storm flow. There's existing, flooding that already. If you change all of this land into impervious surfaces, that will be a tremendous amount of storm water coming off the site, and there is no outlet for the water except to Lake Purdy. Everything from that area drains directly to Lake Purdy. there's going to be, let's see. You already talked, I thought the staff reports and these reports were excellent, so I certainly appreciate the amount of work and investigation that's gone into this. The other thing I guess I could mention is that Highway 119 has no streetlights. It's really rather rural and dark, and once you put in 10 apartment buildings, 3 stories high, and then put in the lighting from those to light that area, there'll be a huge amount of light pollution. I mean, it will glow for miles around because there's nothing else like that in that particular area. And then I guess if there's anything else, I'll say it during the zoning part of the hearing as we go forward. But I appreciate your time listening to me and the great amount of work that the staff has done on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Good afternoon.
My name is Jane Gillespie. I live at 1032 Old Mill Run.
Can you tell me Gillespie
Gillespie,
and your first name?
Jane.
Zane, okay. I'm sorry,
That
it's hard to hear.
microphone a little bit closer to you. Pull that microphone as
Is
close
that
to
better?
you. Yes.
Okay.
Talking to it.
I live at 1032 Old Mill Run, which is the subdivision adjacent to Saddle Creek. I've got issues, I think, with both the zoning and with the annexing, but one thing I didn't notice is any mention of a sewer system for this development. We don't have sewer in that area. I'm not sure where the nearest sewer runs to or stops at or whatever, but we all have septic tanks. Everybody out there does. So I think that would be a huge capital improvement to run sewer there, and I'm not sure that the developer can afford to do that, and I'm not sure that the county would want to pay for that or the city would want to pay for that. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then if you know, the map that he shared with you about their traffic pattern, if you come to the end of Grants Mill Road at 4:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon, and you want to make a left-hand turn there to come to my house, it's just not happening. And the proposal here would put a straight line through traffic and then a turn lane. Well, right now we just have one lane of traffic, so you can see who's turning and who's going to go straight. In that event, we will be blocking that through traffic would be blocked by the cars sitting there waiting to turn onto Grants Mill Road. So that's a huge, huge hazard. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well, because there's no street light there or anything that slows the traffic down or directs the traffic in any way. So that would make that intersection way worse than it is now. And I guess everything else will be for the other part of the meeting. Thank you.
I'm sorry we have two parts.
That's
but we do.
okay. I'll stay for the whole thing.
Thank you. Next speaker. Anyone else who wishes to make a comment, please come forward.
My name is Ben Wegleitner. I'm here representing the Cahaba River Society. Our address is 2717 7th Avenue South in Birmingham. And I'm here to read a letter that we have read at previous meetings regarding this development. I will make it brief, but Cahaba River Society is a collaborative partner and expert resource for development entities and local governments for development design that also protects water resources. And we rarely take a position on whether a development should occur or not. An exception of this is when We ask local government to uphold the protections that have been put in place for the region's vitally important drinking water resource, the Cahaba River and Lake Purdy. We ask that this be part of the official record for this case. Cahaba River Society does not support this proposal, annexation, zoning, the entire thing, for high-density residential and commercial development at Cahaba Valley Road location, and urges the City of Birmingham to consider the following concerns that negatively impact all Birmingham citizens. Promise of road improvements is not a reason to break with the intention of the comprehensive plan and set precedent for intensive development that will further degrade Lake Purdy and our water. And that specifically relates to the annexation. We feel that this could encourage further annexation and further development out this way, which is certainly not called for in the comprehensive plan. The zoning being sought and the annexation being sought does not conform to Birmingham's comprehensive plan. This will set a precedent for future threats to the drinking water source. We're concerned about stormwater runoff from a development of this size in an area that is zoned for open space and estate lots. We're extremely concerned about the drinking water source, the proximity to Lake Purdy, potential impacts from pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, anything that could come from a residential or commercial development of this size. And we're also concerned about the storage capacity of Lake Purdy from sediment runoff and loss of that capacity from development impacts. We also have concerns about wastewater treatment. We would be concerned about any type of on-site or septic type treatment in this area. So we would certainly need to see pipes all the way from the City of Birmingham out here. And I do have a question about the traffic study. Can you tell me the dates that the traffic study was completed, or multiple traffic studies were completed? And I can step away.
This one says 11/13/2020, Skipper Consulting Incorporated.
Okay.
So November of 2020.
Okay, great. Okay, and then just to wrap up, annexation proposals should be evaluated in the context of whether the proposed development activity would be in compliance with the comprehensive plan and would benefit Birmingham citizens. This project is not in compliance with that plan, and the negative impacts to the cost and quality of Birmingham's raw drinking water supply is the strongest argument that we have, and would not serve as a net benefit to Birmingham citizens. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, is there another? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
My name is Pam Young. I live at 1021 Old Mill Run, and that is the subdivision that Ms. Gillespie lives in, across the road from where this is proposed. When he mentioned the studies, traffic studies, pre-COVID and after COVID, I understood you to say November 2020? Okay. Well, that was, I'm trying to get the picture. When was the last one done?
Well, now this is the only one I have. If the staff has another one, or if the developer's representative has another one.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
What was the date?
Yeah, please.
I can come back with the exact dates, but I know we did 2 traffic counts last year. One was the one that you're referencing. I think actually the counts were in October. And then I'll find the other dates. And the last one we did was in 2017. I just need to pull up the report to give you the exact dates. But there's, so we've got some that were a couple years ago, and then more recently during COVID.
Okay, thank you. So you'll let us know.
The reason I want to take note is during COVID, of course, traffic was down. It's starting to gradually increase. And I would think that the one that was done in 2020 would be unrealistic as to what it is today. To get another one would be more accurate. And we're still not back A lot of people are still working at home. But on a typical day, you sit there 20-some minutes, and I think Ms. Gillespie addressed that, the long time wait. But I don't think that that study that was done in 2020 would be accurate. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other speakers? Seeing none. Mr. Hilliard, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
I want to ask the representative of the developer. Did I hear you say that the developer had was willing to do some improvements to the area? Could you tell me what it?
Yes, sir. And so I was going to mention some of these in the context of the zoning case, but one of the things, and I've read through some of the emails that you guys have gotten today. I haven't read through all of them fully yet, but one of the things that is a theme is that there's underservice. In the comments today, what about sewer? What about traffic? All of these things. So this development, given the prior conversations that I mentioned, that there wasn't public funding available from those entities, is funding all of it privately, including the sewer. So the sewer, we've already gotten an arrangement with Southwest Water. They are in the Saddle Creek subdivision, kind of up the mountain in Greystone. The back part of Greystone is in this area. So we will be extending, with Southwest Water, extending that line to be able to service this development. And that's, we've worked out an arrangement with them on that. We've been in dialogue on other utilities as well, and I don't think we finalized those things, but obviously we would like to be getting water from Birmingham Water Works Board, but I think there's also an option to get water from the city of Leeds, so that's something that obviously we'd prefer to do Birmingham Water Works Board if we can, but we've got options there. But all of these things are, consistent with a project of this size, which is a significant revenue source. I mean, the construction sales tax from the city will be significant. The annual ad valorem taxes from the city would be significant. So there is funding that will come from the project to the benefit of the city of Birmingham, but there's zero upfront public investment from the city of Birmingham. So a lot of these traffic concerns that were had, and I was able to pull up the old traffic report. It was June 2017 is when we had the first set of counts run, and I can make sure, Councilor Abbott, that you get a copy of that traffic report, and the same to you, Councilor Hilliard. We've been studying this for a while. I got involved, I think, in 2018, so they'd already been working on it for a year or two before I got involved. But all that's to say that we're significant road improvements. That our traffic consultant, Skipper, thinks would improve things. And then these infrastructure improvements, in terms of the, sewer, water, those are things that we'll fund directly through the project.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I think he answered it. I like the fact of what you said about the developer willing to spend his own money. And it being a significant investment towards Birmingham in the future years and value in that property. How many acres is that?
I figured someone was going to ask me that. Don't quote me. Give me a second. I think I actually have that in one of these papers.
If you don't have it, you can get it to me at a later date, because
what's popping up in my head is 30, but here we go, 18 acres. And it's 7 different parcels and combined all into 18. And one of the speakers mentioned that just to be clear, we're talking about the west side of Grants Mill Road at the northwest corner, or the northwest intersection of Grants Mill Road and 119. The same developer owns property on the east side of Grants Mill Road. There's no zoning application sought or pending in connection with that property. So you heard reference to an old grocery store, an old abandoned store. That's not property that's part of this rezoning application, and there's no plan.
So that's not a part of this?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
Very good. I'm glad.
Yeah, so all the retail here would be brand new retail, newer buildings, kind of what you would expect for a multi-million-dollar development. It would be first class.
Okay. That's good enough for me, Madam Chair. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, well, my concern is that I'm a big proponent of the comprehensive plan, and I'm not going to vote for anything that goes against the comprehensive plan or the adopted future land use plan. The thing that strikes me is that every single city department was either against this or neutral. That's another issue that is a big one for me, and I'm sure that the developer, and of course you, hired by the developer, in favor of it. Is anyone else in favor of this development?
I would, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's hard for me to see the city's economic development department not being in favor of this project. So, what I would like to do is, make sure that we have representatives for those departments here, so that you guys can hear directly from them.
Well, and the waterworks, because it seems that they didn't chime in as far as I can see, and they're a key player here.
Agreed.
They're creating our drinking water that we're all using, so unless you buy it at the store. So,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, can we hold it over to October 12th?
You think we'll have a meeting on October 12th?
Well, I don't know, but I don't know. It's a Tuesday. I just figured it was a Tuesday, and give the other departments a chance to, the Water Board and of course the Economic Development Department, an opportunity to come and speak to us about it. I think that would, give us some time to do some more research.
I would, just to chime in, obviously it's you guys' decision. I would be in favor of that. I mean, I know we're all kind of working on the same.
October 13th.
13th, yeah. But I know we're all kind of working under the same set of facts, where I think we all just got notice of this yesterday. So I would definitely want the traffic engineer to be here to kind of really, get in the weeds with you, and I'll make sure you have that other thing, and then we can make sure that the other, departments, we make sure they have the latest data on the project.
So
I'm never opposed to getting more information, but at this point, there's not much positive about this that I can see, unless you just love development for the sake of development.
One thing I would say,
I guess there is something.
And again, this is more on the zoning case, but based on what I've heard today and just all the testimony, and the written testimony, it seems that the current situation, which would have been the same situation when the future land use plan was adopted, would not support this development. But what we're saying is we're going to provide all of the infrastructure that wasn't there when whoever was coming up with this plan was looking at it. So in other words, there's been a substantial change in circumstances that warrant reevaluating the future land use plan. And we think we have a plan that is consistent. We'd love to hear ideas about how we can improve the development. One of the things that we explored, again, I told you we explored, different configurations of the roadway to hopefully make traffic better. We also have explored, and haven't gotten a full audience on this yet, conveying additional land to the Waterworks Board. If there was a concern that this development is encroaching too close to Lake Purdy, we would be interested in, doing a conservation easement or granting the land directly so that the residents of this community can be assured that any concerns about runoff, et cetera, would be addressed.
Well, where would your runoff, for instance, if we had one of these huge rainstorms we've been having lately, where would all the excess runoff end up?
So I guess the short answer is it's a very complicated drainage system, right? And so what I've worked with the same engineer on a couple of developments within the watershed. So the most recent one was Helen Ridge. It's in Vestavia. And it's a similar system here, but the short of it is, I'm not an engineer, but I definitely will make sure the engineer's here on the 13th to kind of walk through that. We developed kind of an approval matrix of all the different plan review steps that have to happen. There were 13 items, 5 different jurisdictions, so City of Birmingham, ADEM, ALDOT, Birmingham Waterworks Board, Southwest Water. All of these different entities will have to review these plans before we can break ground on anything. And there were some queue conditions that we've also discussed with staff to make sure that any, for example, they don't want us to have a retail with grease traps or, gas stations. Those are all things that the developer is comfortable restricting this development to, so that we're all in agreement that if we're going to build here, we've got the appropriate infrastructure and we've got the safeguards in place to make sure that, the worst thing that people say would happen. We're all on the same page on having a development that's safe, that's profitable for the city, that's profitable for my client, and they're definitely open to, having dialogue about how to make the development better.
Okay, well, Councilor Hilliard, if you'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we...
Oh, wait, Tim.
Yeah, I would just want to make a comment, if you don't mind. And it regards the comment about, changed conditions. And I think that the comp plan, isn't commenting on the infrastructure in here. I think that, we realize and recognize that the basin is already served with sewer. It's already served with a highway. But I think that when you do growth framework planning and you look at long-range planning, you're going to evaluate a drainage basin and what infrastructure is available. And so a drainage basin that does have sewer is more developable, because it's already served with sewer, and that cost to serve that area, would be lesser. And so, but at the same time, you would also evaluate environmental sensitive conditions. And I think that's really the biggest pushback here, is that this is such a highly sensitive environmental location. This is the source of our drinking water for the city of Birmingham and the surrounding area, serves over 1 million people. It already has issues with sedimentation. They constantly have to dredge the lake, which is not a good situation. And it does affect capacity, and it affects our drinking water source. And, I think that one thing needs to be pointed out, too, is that there are larger storms that are occurring. And, the stormwater ordinance, regulates storms up to, I believe it's, I'd have to look at the ordinance again, but I believe it's up to about 1 inch, rainfall over the period of a certain amount of time post a dry period of 24 hours. So if you have 4 days in a row of really heavy rain, the design of the system, may not hold that load. And, so those are kind of the biggest concern to my mind with the plan is this is an environmentally sensitive area of an extreme degree. It serves drinking water to 1 million people in our metro area. And I think that's the biggest concern here. It's not infrastructure. We understand that sewer can be served to the system. We did include queues, and just in case the case is approved, that deal with requirements of a sewer system and no package plants, no septic systems. But that's kind of a vest pocket, just in case kind of thing. So just to comment that, to my mind, the comprehensive plan really comments on the environmental sensitivity of the area, and that, typically when I've done plans in the past, you look at a basin, it is served by sewer, there are development pressures here, which areas are sensitive, they get low density development. Which areas are not, they get high density development. I know there was a comment made in the past that, we have to do high density here because of the costs we've got to overcome. And, to my mind, that makes me think, well, maybe this isn't the right place to develop at this density. So I just want to make those comments because, I think it's a really serious situation. It's our drinking source. And so.
Well, while I appreciate that, and I think that was very good information, that's why I would like to carry it over. I would like to make a motion to carry it over to the 13th of October so we can give the water, our Birmingham Waterworks a chance to come in, hear from economic development or that type thing. I'd like to, that's what I'd like to push it over to.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't mind waiting for more information, but I'm not voting for anything that violates our comprehensive plan. We spent too darn many years trying to get a new plan. 50 years we waited Now we've got it. I am not for development at any cost, especially considering the 17-inch rain that New York City got. Now, our little stormwater ordinance is like we focus on 1 inch. So if we get a 17-inch rain, where's the water going to end up? I didn't get an answer when I asked where this drains to, but I assume it drains to Lake Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the water technically drains to the same place, right? But I mean, that's the whole thing about the watershed.
And my other question is, why are you looking at such a dense development when you are so close to Lake Purdy? Single-family homes are in the area. They have grassy yards instead of eons and eons of pavement.
Yeah, so we're obviously talking about zoning now, but one of the things that, well, I think from a land use perspective, and just more arguing from a map perspective, if you look at the land uses along Highway 119 between Grants Mill Road and Highway 280, you see the new development that has occurred is this same development type. It's higher density, it is this local service retail, and then in the areas where there's not development, those parcels are owned by the Birmingham Waterworks Board. So as somebody looking at it from obviously I'm a lawyer, from a legal perspective, I would conclude that the Waterworks Board already decided all of the land that they needed, they acquired through whatever means to protect the watershed. So as long as we are developing in conjunction with the watershed protective plan that the Waterworks Board has, and that's the most difficult step. You know, when we were doing the Helen Ridge development, it took 6-7 months minimum going back and forth with the Waterworks Board engineers on their plans. It's not like a rubber stamp. You know, I know that in our area, we've had some unfortunate permitting issues, but when it comes to the developing in these areas, you look at the development pattern, it's clear that that's what's been approved. So that's why I even decided to do this was I drove the site, I've been on Lake Purdy, evaluating it, you know, just to kind of see if it made logical sense to me. Obviously, I'm a lawyer, not a planner, but just looking at the development pattern, looking at what I saw from being on Lake Purdy, in listening to the engineers and the traffic professionals, it seemed like there was a reasonable path to do this development at this density, especially given that there wasn't going to be any public subsidy available.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the Waterworks Board to see, you know, just to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, so your motion is?
It's to move it over to October the 13th to hear from the Waterworks Board, the Economic Development Department, and whomever other department may have some interest in this.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Councilor Abbott, real quick, that'll be a special called meeting because your meetings are on the first and third Wednesdays. Just want to make sure you guys know
Okay,
that
well,
would be.
let's put it on a real meeting
Yeah,
date. We'll
let's do
pretend that we have real meetings, and
Right.
we'll go ahead and put it on a real meeting date instead of an artificial.
So that would be October 6th or October 20th.
October 20th would be good for me.
Okay, well, I'll second that motion because I would like to hear from the Waterworks. I'm surprised. I thought that they were supposed to have a plan for even property that they didn't own, that they were required by law to have a plan, but maybe we'll hear from them and find out whether that's true or not. So we have a motion to delay until October 20th on the annexation item to hear from the Waterworks, our own Office of Economic Development, and anybody else that wants to pitch in. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we will delay the annexation portion. Now we are ready to go to item 4. Item 4. Yeah, item 4. Which is ZAC 2020-00028 in the Overton neighborhood.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Gambrill?
So And I guess we'll probably talk about pre-zoning here in a second. But yeah, this is an application to pre-zone territory proposed for annexation from holding zone within Jefferson County to D5 multiple dwelling district and C1 neighborhood commercial district, filed by Randall C. Minor representing the owner, Brock Maddox LLC, and Wayne and Patty Graves for the properties located at 3520, 3526, 3506, 3540 Cahaba Valley Road, and 3500 Eastern Valley Road, 3456 Grants Mill Road, which is currently outside the city limits of Birmingham, and 3504 Cahaba Valley Road, which are all situated in the southeast quarter, Section 10, Township 18 South, Range 1 West, 35242. The proposed use is a new multifamily development consisting of up to 300 units and approximately 24,000 square feet of supporting neighborhood, retail, and services. These proposed properties are outside of the city limits of Birmingham. However, the city's long-range land use plan identifies the properties adjacent to the proposed rezoning request as residential low and open space. The residential low single-family district is designed to allow for districts to ensure that they reflect existing or desired character and consolidate residential zoning districts that do not result in significant variations in development. Uses in this district include single-family homes, schools, churches, neighborhoods serving public uses. The open space designation is land not covered by man-made water-resistant services, parking, or buildings other than recreational structures, pools, or stormwater facilities, which may be landscaped or preserved in a natural state for private use of owners or
Guests, I think
that's supposed to say guest, yeah, or for public access as may be required by the provisions of these regulations or the zoning ordinance. The proposed rezoning request is not consistent with the long-range land use plan. Land use plan that is adjacent to the proposed request. Okay. So the neighborhood recommendation, the Overton Neighborhood Association met on February 2nd, 2021, and voted to approve the proposed rezoning request, and the vote was 2-0. This property is not located within the Northeast Framework Plan area because it is outside the city limits of Birmingham. However, the adjacent properties to the east of this location are in the Northeast Framework Plan. The Northeast Framework Plan area does have an active implementation committee. Staff discussed the proposal rezoning application with Ken Johnson, the Framework Implementation Committee, and have not received a final response regarding the committee's recommendation. We'll need to correct that in the near future. The staff,
when you say we need to correct
we
that,
need to get with them and get a recommendation from them. I don't want to leave it open like that. So we'll make some contact with them on that. The applicant's rezoning request is not consistent with the future land use plan of the adjacent properties. Staff does not recommend approval of the rezoning request in the event the council approves the rezoning request. The following few conditions are recommended, and that's where we're talking about prohibiting gas stations, prohibiting drive-throughs. Development should comply with the Birmingham Waterworks Board, Cahaba River, Lake Prairie Watershed Protection Policy. And then a connection to a sewer system would be required, and no package or septic system shall be allowed. The Zoning Advisory Committee met at the regular scheduled meeting on Tuesday, April 20th, 2021, to review the applicant's rezoning request and voted to not recommend approval. And that concludes the report.
okay, thank you. Well, I know that the applicant's representative is here, so.
All right, 1901 6th Avenue North, Birmingham, Randall again. I would just basically kind of reiterate what we just went through before. We ended up touching on some of the zoning issues that we felt were important. Again, we definitely want to make sure the process is right. We're not asking for any waivers or variances of any process, so I'm comfortable if you guys want to also refer this to that special call meeting. I'm comfortable doing that, and we can pick it up on the 13th. And I think that would, I appreciate everyone being here today, but I think all of us would like to have more notice of the meeting, and so we can have a full presentation.
Yes, madam.
So, do you want to delay this to match the delay of the annexation?
I do. I would like to do it to October the 20th, 2021. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's your motion, is to delay until October
Yes.
20th. Well, I'll second that motion because of the fact that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do one without the other. And this will give everyone time to gather their
We need to keep that in
thoughts.
mind. That would be good.
So we have, and I'll second your motion. So we have a motion that has been properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So this item is delayed along with its companion item to October 20th Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Okay, our next item, thank you very much. Our next item, do we have another item?
I don't think we don't have anybody.
Old and new business, item 5. I don't believe we have any old and new business, but it's been so long since we met, I really can't remember.
I know. We should.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I would like to offer a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. We are adjourned.
Thank you.